This afternoon we're here with Congressman Paul Hodes from the 2nd District, and we're going to be talking about his involvement in the nonprofit sector, and if elected, what would he do to strengthen and support the sector. So let's start with the first question. We're here today in the Currier Museum of Manchester, New Hampshire. They've gone through a lot of transition. This is a real gem in the community. So I'd like to ask you, here you sit in a nonprofit, you're running again for Congress. Tell us about yourself a little and your involvement in the nonprofit sector.
Well, you know, I'm finishing up my first term in the U.S. Congress. And what I'm fond of telling people is that if government works right, government really is the biggest not-for-profit enterprise in the United States. We're paid a fixed salary as legislators. We take in money and spend money. We are responsible to the citizens of this country to be stewards of the public trust. We have to raise all the money that we spend. We're not in the for-profit business. So government itself is a not-for-profit. I have worked in the not-for-profit sector most of my adult life. While I made money as an attorney, I was in New Hampshire the first chairman of the board of Family Strength, an innovative program that helped juveniles stay in their homes and receive social services as a diversion from other judicial interventions. I was the chairman of the board of the Capitol Center for the Arts in Concord and helped lead the effort to transform a dilapidated vaudeville theater into the crown jewel of performing arts in the state. I was on the board of the Children's Alliance. I worked for many years, appointed by former Governor Shaheen, on the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, and also was a chairman of the board of an arts organization in the Monadnock area called Tricinium. So my involvement with not-for-profits has been both on the arts and cultural side, as well as on the social service side.
So you've had a lot of involvement through the arts and through other nonprofit organizations in the state. You know the times we're headed into, you know the challenges ahead. Could you comment on the impact of the sector, its connection to the quality of life we have here in New Hampshire, and if elected, what would you do to strengthen and support the sector?
Well, first, what is very interesting about New Hampshire is that we rank very high in per capita income and very low in charitable giving. We rank very high in volunteerism and involvement with our not-for-profit sector, but we are challenged when it comes to supporting the not-for-profit sector across the board with financial help. The not-for-profit sector crosses all lines in our economic life, whether it is arts and culture, education, social services. The not-for-profit sector is on the front line of educating our children, supporting our communities with social service, helping those who most need it, and providing through the cultural institutions that we have the foundations for American life. So while not-for-profit means that the money may not go back as dividends to shareholders, not-for-profits are run as businesses. They are businesses which raise money, sell tickets, find lots of ways for income, but simply aren't in the profit-making business. I don't see, frankly, a great distinction between the importance of the not-for-profit sector in the life of our country and the for-profit sector. They are of a piece the fabric of the country. I mean, I ask people to imagine what life in this country would be like here in New Hampshire without the Currier Museum, in Concord, New Hampshire without the Capitol Center for the Arts, which did not exist until we put it together, what it would be like for those who need social services if there were no not-for-profit agencies through whom funding and help flowed for people. We would be certainly a poorer nation, culturally, morally, socially, and economically, because the not-for-profit sector is a huge contributor directly to the economic life of our country, through direct employment, through expanded opportunities for people, through the ways in which the not-for-profit sector leverages investment. When I think about the sometimes small amounts of money that are devoted to our not-for-profits, and the way services, whether they are educational, cultural, or social services, are then leveraged, the not-for-profit sector does an amazing job for this nation.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one more question because we're going to piggyback on that. I actually attended a Grants Institute seminar that you put together. And this project is all about raising the visibility of the sector and finding strategies to build its infrastructure. So if you're elected, how would you raise the visibility of the sector?
Well, as you pointed out, in my first term, we did something that nobody had ever done in New Hampshire. We brought as many of the not-for-profits from across the spectrum of New Hampshire as we could possibly find together. We filled the Hall of Representatives in Concord with more than 400 people attending to talk, network, and teach about the ways that the not-for-profit sector can access federal grant money and other federal monies. It's a critical part of my job as a congressman to make available to the not-for-profit sector in the state that I love and represent the ways in which the not-for-profit sector can take advantage of the opportunities that exist at the federal level. So that's one way. And I'm also a powerful advocate for funding for the arts, the proper funding for education, and funding for social services. We're going to face some tough economic times. There is no doubt about it. And the critical thing for the not-for-profit sector, I think, is to help people understand that the work that is done in the not-for-profit sector isn't optional work. It is fundamentally necessary to how we function as a society. And the work that is being done to support the efforts is critical, especially in times of economic distress. Funding for not-for-profits is a necessary investment. It becomes more necessary the more economic distress we're in. Funding the not-for-profit sector for government, in my view, is the best investment we can make.
Thank you very much. Good.